Hello everybody, Zongizzy134 here.
And as always, I'm Average Joe Squad.
And welcome to the final episode of A Month in a Galaxy Far, Far Away. Also remember the Hyphen, the show to look at comics, movies, and everything in between. And tonight, Colton, I'll let you lead this since this was your pet project of this month. I mean, the whole thing was your pet project, but this is the one you really wanted me to watch.
Yeah, so today we are going to be looking at both of the Ewok TV movies, Caravan of Courage and Battle for Endor, which, fun fact, I have spent years thinking the first movie was called Cavern of Courage until I actually looked again at it and it said Caravan. I'm like, wow, half my life is a whole fucking lie.
But that's the part that got you, that your whole life is a lie?
Listen, man. But anyway, so out of all the Star Wars media that's come out over the years, I definitely think this is definitely one of the ones that is most overlooked, / most people don't even know these exist.
I mean, fair, I didn't know these existed.
Until I told you about it?
them.
Now, was that actually when we pitched this, or had I brought these up to you before?
You've brought them up to me before. I think I had...
I told you I didn't have them, but I had seen them.
I think I had heard about them before, because, the internet, as it is, you can hear about things and not really know anything about them, but...
Don't mind me, I'm just looking at it.
Yeah.
Trying to see where that stuff came from. I don't know why that is. I actually think that was the fucking glue from inside.
I wouldn't be
back.
surprised.
Either way, anyway.
But basically, I think I had heard of them, but I'd never known about what exactly entailed of them.
Well, and like I said, it had been so long since I had actually watched them. Like,
yeah.
When I watched them, it was on a VHS dub of when they had actually aired.
Yeah. So, like...
Because I had never seen the DVD of these.
Yeah,
I knew there was one, but I've never seen it.
I want to say when we were looking them up, they were they only got a DVD release in Europe, from what I understand.
I actually looked it up. It's an American one. You can get them used for like $6, but I had already bought them on tape. Because as we explained in a different episode, but recap in case you had forgot, I didn't think these were on Disney Plus, so I went through the hassle of buying them on tape in order to get them so we could review them, and then we were having a discussion about who owns the rights to these, because we still thought they weren't on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And I remembered like MGM did the distribution for them on home video, so we went and looked it up. Wiki says they're on Disney Plus. I'm like, excuse me? So then I go and look, and I'm like, oh, they actually are on Disney Plus, along with the Droids cartoon.
Yeah.
Cool, now I don't have to loan you the tapes. We can just fucking watch them on Disney Plus.
No, and so yeah, although I will admit, watching these, the sound mixing on these are ass. I don't know who put them up.
Well, and I watched it with the subtitles on at night with a fan going, so like I didn't get a whole lot of sound, but
yeah, like I had to pop headphones in to even hear them, and I had my laptop up all the way up. And to be fair,
that doesn't surprise me a whole lot, given that Disney initially had no plans to put these up on Disney Plus, and the only reason they didn't was there was demand for it.
Which, great job there, but I get you didn't want to put these up, but you could have like upped the sound levels a little bit.
I mean, I think they were just like, be happy it's in fucking HD.
I mean, yeah, that's great. Just because you didn't want to do something and the fans' demand didn't mean you had to passively, aggressively lower the sound volume down. But regardless, so, we've been talking about why exactly people don't like the Ewoks. And to be fair, I kind of feel like these movies might have been a little bit of that reason.
Maybe, but like I actually loved these, watching these. Like, these have a certain type of charm to them.
They are good, but I do kind of thinking about the culture at the time and just how nerd culture is. Like, probably a lot of people saw these as the kiddification of Star Wars, because the Ewoks were the big heavy merchandise drive of Return of the Jedi. And well, I have no problem with the Ewoks as a person. Some of my best friends are Ewoks.
You gonna drop a Stormtrooper Lives Matter joke on here too?
Maybe. But ACAB includes the rebels. But
get the fuck out of here, you asshole! Get out of here.
Those are not my own political leanings. We here remember the Hyphen.
We're here shitposting.
We're shitposting. That was all shitposting. But I do kind of, again, like, I kind of see these as kind of why the Ewoks get this Scrappy treatment. And I'm not saying that because in my opinion, Scrappy also got way too much of the flack from the fans with Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that these were out and the fucking cartoon, I think what happened was people got so sick of these fucking bears that it created this whole stigma with them that dwelled into pop culture and made them seem like they're way worse than they actually are. If that's...
You want to know my theory?
Mm.
People got older and they made it a big fucking deal out of something that didn't need to be a big fucking deal.
I mean, that's basically what I said. You just did it with less steps.
With less finesse.
With less finesse. But
But yeah, I think that's a lot of it is because, like, well, then I'm like, I feel like the people that really bitch about the Ewoks, they bitch about other stuff with these movies that doesn't need to be bitched about.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think, again, a lot of that, I think, still had to do with the fact that these got a cartoon.
Well, then I'm also like, the space teddy bears are bad, but the junk peddling Jawas are totally okay.
Like I said, it's... But then, like, you know, with the Jawas, you know, they're only really here and there. With the Ewoks, they had a whole movie, like, plot dedicated to them. They were basically the reason the Rebels won in Return of the Jedi.
I know, but I still
like,
say it's people nitpicking shit.
No, I agree with you. I'm not saying that I believe that, but I
if you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
I'm simply trying to get to the root of the problem, if you will. Like, I'm not saying I had these problems, because I love Return of the Jedi. I love all three of the original trilogy. I just think because Return of the Jedi gets flack for being the kind of bad one of the original trilogy, which, again, I don't think that's the case. I think it's the most flawed of the three. But just because something is flawed does not mean it's bad. So, like I said, going into these, I didn't know what I was going to expect, aside from you telling me that, like, the Ewoks talked in basic. And
which, I couldn't remember which one that was. That's actually in the second one more so than the first one.
Well, then, to be fair, I had
brought it up that it's a little bit of a plot hole because these take place before Episode 6.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense then why it seems like Wicket doesn't understand what Leia is saying in 6.
Yeah.
To which I've just kind of summed up as, he's just fucking like, I don't want to deal with this shit.
Well, then, to be fair, the way you explained it to me, I thought, like, they just spoke in English. They just spoke basic, like, the entirety
well,
of
it had been so long since I had actually fucking watched it.
Like, here it actually makes sense to me why they speak basic in Battle for Endor, because they learned it from Sindel and Mace and his family. Why they don't do it in Revenge or Return of the Jedi,
It's just a plot hole.
It's just a plot
hole.
hole.
There's no other way of wearing it. It's just a plot hole.
But, as a whole, I actually really did enjoy these, with some issues I had with Battle for Endor, but I really loved Cavern of Courage. I thought that was actually a really, really fun movie, which we'll get into dissecting here. And I still liked Battle for Endor. There's some flaws with that movie. But, like, I didn't know really what I expect getting in here, and it was really fun seeing some stuff, you know, like, because up until, like, the modern times of them trying to make more movies in the Star Wars universe, you didn't really get to see a lot of what happened outside of the Rebels' battle with the Empire.
Well, I think that's why I liked this so much, was it was something different.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like we had a whole galaxy's worth of stakes going on. Like, it was just something kind of like, it was a self-contained story.
Yeah.
Which I think, like, I wish there was more of with Star Wars.
As do I.
Because even the ones they've done, like Rogue One or Solo, they still fucking relate back to this big galaxy-ending events and stuff. And I'm like, they don't always need to be like that.
Well, that was kind of my disappointment when they canceled Star Wars 1313. I actually thought that was going to be cool, because it looked like it was going to be like this interesting story about like a Jedi who's like a detective or something like that. Which, granted, I simply saw like the...
You were going to be a bounty hunter.
No. I mean, that still would have been kind of cool. Like, I wouldn't have minded just being a bounty hunter, but it had like a noir look to it when...
That was a victim of the buyout.
Yeah. Like I said, that looked like it was going to be kind of fun, but... I don't know. It still could have been cool, but
yeah, I wish there was more self-contained stories within the Star Wars universe like this. There's plenty in the old EU, like the Tales from books were great for that. There are numerous other comics and stuff. Like, it was self-contained stuff. I feel like needs to make a comeback with Star Wars. Not everything's got to be galaxy-ending potential.
yeah,
We can do some small-scale shit.
honestly, I feel that way a lot about a lot of movies anymore. Like, it's okay to not have to be like a franchise or have to make sequel upon sequel of something. Like, you can just make a movie. And I know some of you that like get mad about how the state of cinema, like, well, yeah, there's plenty of those. I'm like, yeah, but are they any good? No offense.
I was about to say, are they actually worth a fuck?
But, like, and again, I think that is a problem with the current industry, is that they all want to be the next MCU, and it's like, how about you just make like a movie and we'll take it from there. But anyway, would you like to start off talking about these movies? Or?
Yeah, sure. I actually brought some material to reference. This is Star Wars year by year. It's only current up to 2010, because I've had this book a while. But because I actually dug this out because it actually had some stuff relating to these movies in it. Specifically with Caravan of Courage. This aired on November 25th, 1984. It was part of the ABC Sunday Night Movie, and it was released to great success. The feature is directed by John Cordy. Eric Walker, who plays young castaway Mace Tawani, later told Star Wars Insider, a lot of people didn't realize this, but George Lucas directed all the reshoots. When he was on set, the pace was 100 times faster. The Ewok adventure ushers in a wave of Ewok-themed merchandise and spin-off stories as Star Wars enters an era without the prospect of any new theatrical movies.
Now, the little girl who played Sindel, her name seemed familiar to me, Aubrey Miller.
I can look it up. Fun fact, her character later shows up in other Star Wars Expanded Universe material.
Really?
She shows up during the Black Fleet Crisis, which is post-episode 6.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly how many years after Yavin it is, but she is actually a reporter for HoloNet.
Oh, well, good for her. I'm glad she was able to overcome the massive amounts of trauma she goes through in the battle for Endor, which we'll get to.
And as far as I know, she does not ever go back to Endor.
I mean, you know, as much as I would love Wicket, given the shit she goes through in these.
Well, let's be honest. I think Endor was a complete battleground of shit afterwards.
Yeah.
I am looking up Wiki real quick on her cast.
Well, that's a real side.
She doesn't have a Wiki article.
Okay.
So I'm wondering.
Well, the name
if she's
seemed familiar
done
to me.
anything at all? Let me Google it. When all else fails, we'll Google shit because IMDb will fucking have it.
You know, I might be wrong, but her name sounded familiar to me.
These are her only movies. Oh no, I take it back. She was known for the Ewok movie, Ewok Adventure 1984, Ewoks Battle for Endor, and the Message 2012.
I don't think I've ever watched The Message, but
I don't have.
that name sounded familiar to me for some reason.
Pretty sure you're just confusing her with somebody else.
Yeah, probably another actress named Aubrey.
Yeah, dude, because like she's only been in like 3-4 movies.
Mm-hmm. That's on me. Like her name sounded familiar, but I don't know why.
But yeah, she does show up later in the EU. She shows up or is mentioned a couple different times. Just once again showing that the old EU was willing to bring anything in.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically, the plot of this movie is, as he stated, basically, Mace, Sindel, and their parents,
they crash land on Endor.
Yeah, crash land on Endor.
And then they end up getting separated, which leads to Sindel and Mace eventually coming into contact with the Ewoks, while their parents are... Initially, it's just thought their parents disappear. It is later revealed that they were captured by a giant.
Yeah.
So this leads into an entire plot with Sindel and Mace coercing the Ewoks into helping them rescue their parents, and them going on this very large trek towards this mountain where the giant lives and where the parents are being held.
Most of which includes Wicket's whole family. Mainly his mother and like youngest brother get stay behind, but his father Deej and his two brothers whose names I forget, but like they're very close to Wicket. I want to say they're like it's just Wicket, but like with a different vowel for each of them. And then they are on the way. They have to get 2 more Ewoks, which
I love the mage one that
Yeah.
was just sitting there. And I'm like,
Yeah, the mage
that's
one.
funny. That's cool as hell. Actually, I'm more than willing for that.
the Woodsman Ewok was my favorite.
Where he does the axe
Throw.
trick.
No, I loved him. I was so sad at the end of that movie when
he
he
dies.
fucking dies. I'm like, no, you were the best one.
I love when like they're fighting the spider in the cavern, and then you see the mage one.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, you told me you've had magic this whole fucking time.
I mean, you did jack shit. Fucking Mace almost drowned in a pond that turned to glass at the top, and you had to have Wicket use his magic fucking stick.
Fun fact: there is a novelization of this for children. I actually might have to try to track that down.
But yeah, and I will admit, like, this movie really shows that Endor, despite being called the forest moon of Endor,
is more than just forest.
yeah, it has like a fucking desert and like a plain,
All these rocky mountains and
all
stuff.
despite the fact that like
Which again, we never see anywhere else, because anytime
Yeah.
you see fucking Endor in any like the video games, it's always just that forest segment.
yeah, or
that's
Return
in
of the
6.
Jedi.
Yeah.
It appeared like it was like an entire fucking like just nothing but forests. Like how Hoth was just an entire ice ball, or Tatooine was an entire desert planet. Although I know with Tatooine there's like a lore behind it being a desert, but
Yeah, the Rakata bombed it
Yeah,
because of a slave rebellion.
I mean to be fair, it doesn't really put past that, seeing as how like a lot of the planets in the Star Wars universe are just
Or based on a biome.
yeah, like how Mustafar is just an entire ball of lava. Although to be fair, that actually has some, because I want to say there are actually planets past our solar system that are just
Yeah.
balls of fire, but yeah, like he said, it's a very basic plot, but it's really
I think
enjoyable.
I think it works.
Yeah,
It's because it's Ewoks. It doesn't need to be complicated. It's
yeah,
Ewoks.
not only that, it's very much like any
Dungeons
sort
and
of
Dragons.
what's that?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons are like any sort of fantasy story where like you have this caravan of heroes. You know, they need a mage and a barbarian to finish their quest. They have all these little magic tools.
Hold up, I didn't mean to interrupt. There is a behind-the-scenes doc on Caravan of Courage.
Really?
I'm looking at the Wikipedia article because I'm getting ready to go to Wikipedia to try to find the articles on the other Ewoks, just so we have names. During the production of Caravan of Courage, the children in the cast had to balance their schoolwork with acting in the film. During their time on set, Lucasfilm decided it might be an educational and rewarding experience for the older children, Eric Walker and Warwick Davis, to be given their own camera to use between takes. Calling themselves W&W Productions, Walker and Warwick shot a documentary of the making of the film, which was released to Walker's YouTube channel in 2014. When the film was released on DVD in 2004, it contained nothing but the film itself. Walker and Davis stated in interviews that they would have been happy to record a cast commentary for another feature DVD release if Lucasfilm someday allowed a more detailed release of the films.
Because I was about to say they're the ones that decide when those come out, not Disney, right? If they
Used to be. I'm pretty sure Disney is the one that decides it now.
which is kind of a shame because I wouldn't mind these getting a Blu-ray release.
Yeah, so would I actually.
I would love to see a lot of these behind the scenes stuff.
Okay, I am pulling this up. Here we go. Because I went to Wikipedia because Wikipedia has everything.
It really does. As an aside, the TF Wiki I like to go to just to read the articles because they have some really funny like commentary with the pictures. It's been like down for like 2 days, and I'm really hoping that doesn't mean it's gonna just get shut down because I really love that wiki. But yeah, and
Yeah, here it is. Sorry, I meant the. I keep interrupting you, and I don't mean to.
that's okay.
Where is it? In the novel Tyrant's Test, which is part of the Black Fleet Crisis, Sindel is shown to have become a reporter on Coruscant. During the Yavithian Crisis, Sindel receives the so-called Plant Malar tapes from Admiral Drayson and leaks the story of the only survivor of the attack. In the novel Legacy of the Force Fury, Elena is Jason's daughter.
Okay.
Entertainment monitors displaying an entertainment broadcast in which Ewoks spoke basic and befriended shipwrecked little girls. So obviously there's some in-universe meta things.
Yeah.
Star Wars Battlefront's Survivor of Endor map includes the Gorax cave, complete with rearing spiders and an empty cage hanging from the ceiling.
Oh. That's cool.
Yeah, so it's just so that these are referenced and
Yeah.
stuff. But not to mention, I saw art. Sindel is actually in the original Guide to Characters.
Oh, cool. But
So I'm pretty sure most of these of the Ewoks in this, I'm pretty sure they all do appear in the animated series as well.
well, yeah, because like they like pretty much all the Ewoks we see were in the movie too. So I'll say this is like their. 'Cause I'm assuming there's multiple like Ewok villages throughout Endor.
Okay, so the mage, the female Ewok mage is Kanink?
Kinning, yeah, we'll say Kinning.
Well, because again, with the sound mixing, because I couldn't fucking have any goddamn sound last night because it's too fucking hot to even have any kind of not fan going.
Yeah.
And with the fucking mixing on these.
Yeah. Mixing's really terrible. Like, put the subtitles on and pop headphones in if you really want to hear them.
And then the woodsman was a Chukachok.
Oh, Chukachok.
Yeah, Chukachok.
Yeah, I love Chukachok. I was like, man, I'm gonna watch him die.
Is he referenced anywhere else? Yeah, he's in the cartoon.
Oh, that's good. I actually might watch this cartoon now to see Chukachok because he was great. I bet the priest. Yeah, I think she is in there because I've seen.
Yep, she's in the Haunted Village in Wicked's Wagon, which I actually have on VHS tape.
Yeah, I want to say she shows up in
She's also in Star Tours.
I mean, to be fair, you know, there's not a lot of female characters in Star Wars, so you take what you can get.
Kanink was featured in the safety video in Boarding Party in Disney Star Tours ride. The Ewok costume used was missing her signature leather dress, but it was later revealed to be Kanink. A action figure of Kanink, minus her dress and staff, was released by the Star Tours Boarding Party set of figures. It was a Disney Parks exclusive. 2 Disney exclusive pins have also been released featuring her.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, her and Chukachok are great. I also love that Wicked's dad's name is just Deej. I don't know why. Like, that just makes me happy that his name is Deej. He has a brother named Dijon. But yeah, like, I also have to give credit. This movie, like, is out of the way. One of my problems with Battle for Endor is, like, it takes like 48 minutes for that movie to really get going. And here, this movie, you know, I mean, it does have the beginning part where Sindel's sick from being injured and kind of malnourished.
But it serves as a way for us to get really introduced to the characters.
Yeah, and it doesn't like stay overly long. Like, we had to get like a whole new cast for the second film, and it takes like 48 minutes for that to happen. And like in that time, like, you forget that there's actually like a bad guy. Like, the bad guys in Battle of Endor barely do anything. And while yes, the giant doesn't do a lot in this film, he at least is like the thing they have to defeat when they get there. It's more the journey is what's perilous for them. Especially considering they almost die like 7 times in this movie. But, you know, and I really like the fact that it really, because probably my favorite character in this was actually Mace. Like, just him trying to...
Oh, see, he actually annoyed the shit out of me.
I don't know,
It seemed like most of the movie was spent with him, and all he did was just bitch about everything.
I mean, fair.
Which, granted, when you're that age, you do bitch about everything.
Well, then I liked his, like, kind of character growth where he kind of, like, blames himself for the wreckage because he didn't listen to his folks, and he's just trying to do right by saving them and also learning to trust the Ewoks, because that's, like, he didn't trust his folks, so he's got to trust these Ewoks in order for them to survive. And a lot of the times he's the one that kind of gets them to survive because he comes up with plans. I mean, granted, they don't always work, and the Ewoks sometimes have to bail him out, but at least he's the one that's trying to keep the caravan going for the most part. It is kind of annoying at the beginning, but I think he gets better by like the halfway point of the film.
Yeah, like I said, for most of the film, he just kind of annoys me.
Who is your favorite character in this then?
Probably Sindel or Wicket. Wicket is just fucking hilarious in both of these.
Yeah,
he especially loving the second one when he's making the fire and then he sits on the...
Oh, he sits on the...
the part and lights his ass on fire. That shit... That was funny as all hell. Like, maybe it was just the mood I was in. I was in the mood for some funny Ewok stuff, so, like, I had fun with these. But, like, there was a lot of humor in this that I think actually holds up really well.
Yeah, I would have liked Sindel more, like, in the first film, if they actually let her do a little bit more. The most she, like, in my opinion, does really well is like, she uses the candle to get rid of those weird Sprixies or whatever they're called. Those little sprites. Yeah. Although I did like the one that stays with Mace. That's like I also really have to admit the effect for those were actually kind of neat. Like I liked how they clearly like took photo shots of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they sped it up and like would have it like pause. Like it actually works to kind of give like this effect that they were real.
Yeah. So what were some of your favorite movies from? I mean, some of your favorite moments from Caravan of Courage?
For me, I really enjoyed just the whole journey from the village to the cave. Like that was just really fun. And it was really cool seeing the Ewoks actually like I liked that, and I like the explanation for all the little objects they take, the weapons and like the magic walking stick. Although I will admit it was kind of annoying the narrator didn't actually explain what the fuck the rock was for. Which I get why, because it's the kind of Deus Ex Machina for the film, but like at the same time I'm like, man, you couldn't have like given the rock a name. We get nothing on that. But no, I really like that. I really liked the perils they go through, because you would expect like there to be a lot more monsters and stuff. Like I like that they're like that pond that like turns to glass that like it like teleports you under the water, and there's actually like almost like a wall, and they had to like use the walking stick because the walking stick's enchanted to pull Mace out of there.
Yeah, like I think they did a really good job setting up why those would be important on the journey.
Yeah, that was what I really liked about that. Like I said, I really just liked the journey itself. That was for me was the really fun part of this. It really felt like a good like fantasy adventure.
Yeah.
That, and I really loved the part with the giant, because man, the effects for that
I was about to say
really
the giant's
good.
effects were great in this. Like,
yeah,
I also love the sequence with the spiders.
Yeah, the sequence with the spiders are really good
Because
too.
like those spiders actually look kind of terrifying. Like they actually still hold up pretty well. I mean, you can tell they were definitely like a miniature.
Yeah, but like again, all the effects were really good. They really made it feel like a giant lived there. Like I liked how the stone steps were like they actually had to climb up the steps. Also really like the intelligence they had there, where they had Wicket and Sindel stay behind because they were the youngest.
Yeah.
And they had the older party go ahead. Also, I want to say one of his brothers stayed along too, just to make sure they were safe. But I really just enjoyed overall just the fun it actually had as an adventure.
See, that's why like I'm really happy you enjoyed these, because I remember like before you watched them, you were kind of like hesitant to do it because you're like, I'm gonna have to watch these movies about fucking Ewoks, and I'm like, no, like listen, these are fun.
Yeah,
these are good movies. These are fun. Like I told him, go into it with no expectations.
Well,
I promise you're gonna have fun.
I think the other problem was I thought these were gonna be really fucking cheap and
then you're watching me like, holy hell, these had a budget.
Like Lucas was like, no, we're gonna make these actually fucking worth something, and I'm like, all right. Like I said, like there was all this claymation they did. It was that good like Star Wars claymation where it just like, because I love claymation in Star Wars because it always worked every time they did it. Like it never looked super cheap when they did it, which says something because these movies were made on the cheap.
But these were TV movies.
Well, no, I meant like Star Wars in general.
Oh, okay.
Like up until like episode
Empire.
1, like these were made very cheaply because the studio didn't have any faith in them.
Only for the first one. 5 and 6 had a huge ass budget.
I mean, fair, but like I said, I was actually really like impressed with this movie. Like, you know, like they didn't make them super cheap. And I will admit, I do think Mason Sindel actually did pretty well as kid actors. Which says something when like later on clearly no one gave a shit whenever with Jake Lloyd, they just basically told him to stand in front of a fucking camera. But like I said, I really enjoyed this movie. It was very fun. I wish I could say more, but like it's kind of one of those movies where it's like
you have to watch it.
You have to watch it because it's just an adventure movie. Like I don't want to go beat by beat because it's just us explaining the adventure. What about you? What were your favorite parts?
Like I said, the giant stuff I really, really liked, and I enjoyed the spider sequences. I honestly really enjoyed just seeing the stuff with the Ewoks, like the way, like you know, the medicine stuff, and then the stuff with the shaman. Like,
yeah.
I don't know why it's like it. I just like it. It's interesting to me, is like seeing how these different species in the galaxy function.
Also,
And we don't really see a lot of that in the film. We see a lot of that in the EU. Like, we see a lot about like how like the Tusken Raiders work, you know, how what their society is like, or we see like what the Jawa society is like, or the Wookiees. You know, it's just interesting to me because it's something different.
Yeah. I also really liked the effects with the skin glider. Like, clearly, they actually had someone on a glider for a couple of shots.
Kenner actually made a toy for that too. I'm fairly certain.
Well, because that was in Return, right? That skin glider. Like they had gliders.
Yeah, it was. And then like for these, I'm pretty sure they also did movies. They did toys because they also. I want to say they blended some of these in with the Ewoks cartoon figures they did.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised
because they did a line for droids and Ewoks.
Yeah. Well, then, like I said, I hear it actually. I actually kind of these actually explain a little bit more why they were able to, in my opinion, give the Empire such a run for their money. Because these Ewoks actually seem like
they're because it's the same tribe too.
Yeah, because these guys are actually kind of skilled for.
If you watch these, if you're critical of how the Empire gets fucking destroyed, watch these. It makes more sense.
Although I do, this is just me, like, I do tilt my head at the magic that happens in both these films, and I'm not super against it. It's just, I'm like, damn, where was this magic, when you were fighting the Empire?
Well, and I also look at it as, like, this could, in a way, you could say it's the Force. It's technically an extension of the Force. Like you could argue.
Like I kept thinking that the priestess Kynix, the crystal for her staff must have been like a Kyber crystal, and she was just using it in a very inventive way. Although the top that the priest Ewok of their village used to see where their parents were, I was like, what the fuck was that? Because I was like, you got a fucking magic top?
Yeah, man, Ewoks got all kinds of shit.
Yeah, they got some wild fucking shit. But no, the
rebels were just like, damn, we should have invited you guys to join more
yeah, like damn,
quicker. Like shit, we could have won sooner than this.
But yeah, as a whole, I think Caravan of Courage of the two of them was probably my favorite, just because it was very simple and it got right into what it was about. It was about this caravan of Ewoks and these little kids trying to rescue their parents and go home. I mean, granted, they don't go home at the end of this movie, but, like, they would eventually.
Yeah. So, we'll save ratings till the end. Let's move on to Battle for Endor, which came out the next year on the same date, because it was also an ABC movie, and just quoting from Star Wars Year by Year. The 2-hour Ewoks Battle for Endor debuts on ABC, a sequel to 1984's The Ewok Adventure, also known as Caravan of Courage. It features a darker tone with the family of Sindel Tawani being killed off at the start of the movie, and a gigantic ground battle with an army of evil marauders. Directed and co-written by brothers Jim and Ken Wheat, the film stars Wilford Brimley as a gruff spacer, Joe Johnson is the movie's production designer and second unit director, while Philip Tippett is the creature supervisor. Many of the monsters in Battle for Endor, including a winged condor dragon and a number of dinosaur-like blurgs, are brought to life through traditional stop-motion animation. Industrial Light and Magic's Michael McAllister wins an Emmy for outstanding visual effects on this film.
And I will admit, the effects in this movie I think are really good, other than there was a little bit of blue screening with that scene with Sindel and Wicket escaping from that one winged creature.
Yeah.
Like, but that was
I actually thought it held up pretty well for what it is.
Yeah.
Like, because it was also noticeable in Caravan of Courage when they fall down the pit.
Yeah.
Like the giant stuff. That was really, you could tell that was blue screen, but like,
yeah.
For me, maybe it's because I'm so used to seeing Star Wars, like the OG versions, that this stuff doesn't always stand out to me because I'm just so used to it.
No, that's fair. Well, for me, like the part with Sindel, like, so you couldn't have Sindel actually be in danger when they were doing the glider thing. It was just noticeable to me when, like, we had all the actual shots of that glider in the first film. So, like, I was like, oh, that's definitely blue screen. But otherwise, the effects in this were really good. Like, I want to stress that. Like, that was, like, the only effect I had. In fact, I didn't really, when you brought up the cave thing just now, I didn't even notice that was blue screen. But, like, it was.
Oh, really, yeah, it was definitely blue screen.
But, like, that was so good, I didn't really notice.
So I want to say they pulled the old green screen matte painting over the green screen.
Yeah. Now, well, I will admit this film is definitely darker in tone Because, like, again, like, the first opening shot is these marauders, like, kidnapping all the Ewoks, except for, well, actually, they kidnap all the Ewoks, and Wicket and Sindel manage to get away because they're the smallest. But, like...
Yeah, Sindel's entire family is fucking killed.
Gets murdered, and, like, right off the bat, I actually took a lot of... I hate when movies do that, when they're like, we're just gonna kill off the whole cast. Or most of the cast from the previous film. Like, that's my problem with it. My biggest problem with Alien 3 is them killing off Newton Hicks. So, like, it might have just been because I grew an attachment to this family. Like, I could have lived with them killing off the parents and, like,
well,
having
imagine
Mason
being like you, they re-aired this a lot. Imagine, like, seeing this and then this one comes out. You're like, what the fuck?
But, like, the other problem I have with this is then we are introduced to an entire new cast, which that always rubs me the wrong way with a lot of films. Like, I still enjoyed this movie. Like, it just took me a little bit because I hate when, like, half the cast you like it's just completely murdered at the beginning of a film. You know, you maybe you see it differently, but I didn't.
I see your point.
Yeah, like, I grew an attachment and I was like, well, damn. Then, like, we spend, like, so long with them, like, fucking around Noah's little hut. Like,
yeah, that would actually be probably one of my biggest complaints, is like the middle part of the movie definitely has some drag issues.
Like, there's good chunks of this movie you forget the Marauders are an actual threat. Like they, like, it almost seems like Sindel and Wicket forget that they wanted to actually rescue Wicket's village after they got captured by the Marauders. To say nothing of the fact that the whole reason the Marauders attack is because they think that
the power.
Yeah, the power cell will give them, like, actual power. When really it's... They're following this blueprint of Noah's friend because they were looking for another power cell to get their ship off the ground.
Oh, Selleck?
Selleck, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the guy's name, is Selleck.
It was Selleck. Which I actually thought Selleck was actually going to be revealed to be the Marauder leader.
I actually thought they were going to do that too, and then just bam, there he is,
dead,
chained
a fucking
up.
skeleton.
And you're like, what? You're like,
oh, okay. Thanks for that. But, because Noah and his friend, much like Sindel and her family, crash landed on the forest moon of Endor, although it's been implied he's been here for, like, decades. The ship does kind of work, because, like, at least has enough power that he can, like, put booby traps up around with it. So one second later, they show that there's, like a laser turret that, like, guards it. So it must be...
That's after the thing gets fired up. All the other booby traps are just generic, like...
I mean, fair.
Like trip wires and...
Yeah. But yeah, and so basically, Selleck thinks, or not Selleck, the Marauder leader thinks that it'll actually give him, like, power. Because him and this witch that, again, kind of comes the fuck out of nowhere, who has this magic ring that can turn her into, like, a bird and some other magic shit she does later. Although I guess you could argue maybe that's a K-Bar crystal too, and it, like, he's using it to cast illusions with, like, the Force.
He's leaning a lot heavy on his Kyber crystal.
I know, but like the magic in this is actually kind of worse, just because it like she straight up turns into a bird.
No, I know, but I'm also just like my brother in Christ. Magic does exist in this universe.
I know. I just
beyond just the Force, there is crazy ass shit like this.
I just don't like magic.
The Dolphin are witches.
I just don't like magic in the Star Wars universe because it raises a lot of weird questions.
Well, yeah, they have an entire section of space that's not explored.
I mean, yeah.
They also had an invasion by an entire alien species that was literally immune to the Force.
I mean, that's also fair. Like, imagine. Okay.
I think you're thinking too hard about it.
I know, but like, imagine if, like, in Star Trek they end up in the unexplored quadrant, and they meet actual fucking like they meet Merlin, straight up Merlin from Camelot.
Here's my counter to that. We are already dealing with a universe where there is a big ass force thing called the Force that is able to be used and harnessed as a weapon by either good or evil, and binds us and penetrates us and guides the universe. To me, I'm like, that's not that much of a step to say magic is real as well.
Yeah, I know, but okay, I'm gonna sound like I'm splitting hairs here. Like, that's mystical. Like, there's a difference for me with mystical and magical. And I know, just hear me out for a second. Just let me.
As a pagan, now hold on a minute.
Just hear me out here. with magic in fiction, a lot of times that just means I'm going to use magic to just fix a plot because I got stuck, and I let magic do whatever the fuck it wants. Like, there's no set rules to it. Whereas at least with mystical, like a lot of times it's not completely explained, it at least follows a sense of order and logic.
Let me do another counter.
And you're
all of this witch's powers are shape-shifting abilities. There are species in the Star Wars universe that are entirely capable of doing that.
Which, okay, fair. All right, that I'll give. All right, I'll go with you there. I'll go with you there.
Yes, for all we know, that ring is just a way of harnessing that power.
Okay, that's all right. You know what? I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Of kind of like a centering stone. You know what I mean? Think about it like that.
Okay, that's fair. All right, you know what?
If that makes sense.
That actually does. Like I said, I know what you're going for here. My complaint with magic in the Star Wars universe is then they can just be like, it's magic. It might just be because of fucking Joe Quesada, but I hate it's magic. We don't want to explain it. No, there's rules. Don't you fucking break these rules, because then you like.
I mean, to be fair too, and again, in defense of the Star Wars universe, when magic shows up, there are goddamn rules to it.
I mean, fair. Like I said, I really hate magic in fiction 9 times out of 10 because they don't want to explain it, and then it's like, and then they pull bullshit out of their ass that, like, why didn't you use this beforehand? Sort of thing.
Nobody asked.
Yeah. God, that's an even. I hate that excuse too in fiction. Like, and I know I love Doctor Strange. His whole thing is being the Sorcerer Supreme, so he can pull bullshit out of his ass. He's supposed to be able to do that, and I accept it. It's stupid, but I accept it. And also, Marvel's terrible with magic anyways, because they never want to actually explain how it fucking works.
Why do you need to know how it works? It's magic.
Okay, not like
as a counterpoint. Not why do you need to know exactly how it works?
Okay, not how it works, but like,
or like know the rules to it.
Because if you don't have rules, then you just make up bullshit as you go. And again, I know comic books, it's allowed to do that because they are making the bullshit up as they go.
What if I told you all of fiction is just making bullshit up as you go?
I know, but magic is a special kind of bullshit when they make it up, because then they can just be like, it's like the Eagles at the end of Lord of the Rings.
I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy, so that analogy is lost to me, but continue.
Well, basically, Gandalf could have summoned these eagles at any time, and instead of using them to fly the fucking ring to Mordor, and I know that there's actual explanation for the eagles, please just let me run with it. He decides, you know what the better thing would be? To walk through the land of the bad guy that he has complete control over, with nothing but a ranger, an archer, and a couple of hobbits, and his magic that he's kind of failing because he's getting on in years, instead of just flying the fucking thing over. Like I said, I know it's a big hang up with me with magic.
Well, I was about to say, like, I don't want to be that guy or sound mean, but I was about to say, I'm like, this sounds like you just have a hang up with this.
To be fair, I do, but like, okay, I'm trying to think of some other ones.
You're thinking too hard, man. I get it.
It's basically One More Day, and how that fucking makes no goddamn sense.
No, I know.
It is ruined magic for me. Like, I'm sorry.
That's fair.
Like, that's my problem.
I think you're just thinking too hard about it. But, I actually kind of. I wish that there was more focus on the Marauders in this movie, because, well, excuse me, I think they could have been a really interesting villain for this, because again, this is an entire other sentient species on Endor that we're seeing, and then they really only become a major threat towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Apart from, like, you know, the beginning, but like the middle, they kind of like you mentioned, like it's almost like they're not like really a threat.
Yeah, they're just kind of sitting around this big fucking castle. Which, again, this castle is like...
It looks straight up out of Conan.
Yeah, like, where the fuck did this come from? Like, I know it's... I'm not saying that as like...
I actually want to say it's in the cartoon.
Okay. See, okay.
I actually do want to say that it's in the cartoon.
I don't know. Like, for me, it's more... I can't believe the Marauders built this thing with... I mean, they're not bad, but, like, they clearly don't have a... I wouldn't expect them of this kind of level of masonry.
I'm actually looking it up just because I'm actually curious myself.
But like I said, well then like it's kind of weird because I'm like, but then again, this is also because like Endor doesn't really make like it's hard for me to keep down where exactly this is taking place. It looks like the same desert they walk through in Caravan of Courage, so I'm like, and like at least with the giant's place, like I could believe that he just carved the steps out of the cave walls and all that, but like, although I mean to be fair, they were pretty skilled because they had actually some decent tech with them, like they had some decent blaster tech. Which also, it was a riot when the Ewoks stole the blasters off those two dudes that were playing poker.
That shit was hilarious.
And they're
I like how both of them, they both fucking shoot each other. That shit was funny.
No, that poker scene, that was actually really funny. I'm like, I feel like that's happened a lot with these guys. That poor fucker who gets blasted in the foot and he gets like stepped on by like 5 other dudes as they're like, damn, poor guy gets a hot foot and then like you all step on him. And not in like the way that like, Riley enjoys. But like I said, getting back to like actual complaints because I like the magic thing's more of a nitpick for me. Like I said, as much as I liked Noah towards the end of the film, like my god, like the fact that we spend so much time like establishing him and Teak.
So the castle's name is Tarak's Keep, also known as the Marauder's Stronghold.
Okay.
It was a castle built by King Tarak of the Sanyasan Marauders during the 1st century before the Battle of Yavin. Okay. This ancient-style fortress was located on the forest moon of Endor, looming over Dragon's Pelt Savanna from the outcropping of Dragonspine mountain range. After the defeat of Tarak during the Galactic Civil War, the castle remained in use for surviving goons. The remnants of the Marauders were quickly torn apart by the internecine strife, but the keep eventually found its new master in the person of Zakuel, the late Tarak's son.
Okay.
The stone-walled castle was built with stone quarried from mines in the Dragonspine foothills.
Okay. So like these Marauders actually had more of a civilization at one point. Okay, that actually explains a little bit more now that you bring that up. So I was kind of curious what the fuck was in those moats that was like...
With the Ewok planet, it's better not to know.
Yeah, that's fair, because there's some wild-ass shit on Endor. Or on the forest moon of Endor. I always forget that, like, that it's a moon of Endor, not, like, actual Endor.
It's also mentioned that, after where's that guy's name again? 'Cause shit. Tarak. After King Tarak's death, apparently one of his sons actually becomes the new king of the Marauders, so these guys are still around.
Okay.
And you actually asked what was in the moat. It actually says here. The stronghold was surrounded by a deep moat filled with murky water, which the human scout Noah described as black as ink. During the construction of the castle, one of the pirates suggested installing the still functioning automatic defense mechanism from the wrecked starship for further protection against assault. A selected disintegrator field shaped like a torpedo was installed in the moat. It would target any object that touched the surface of the water.
So those are torpedoes?
Yeah.
Huh. That's a little odd, but alright. I'm down.
Fun behind-the-scenes fact. King Tarak's Stronghold was first seen in the movie 1985 made-for-TV movie Ewoks Battle for Endor. As of 2018, a matte painting of the structure is on display at Lucasfilm's headquarters.
Huh. That's kind of neat. But yeah, like, I think that part of the reason that this movie kind of doesn't annoy me is it really does feel like they were like, well, we're gonna really bask on Wilford Brimley's popularity at the time. This was from because of the movie Cocoon. Although I know Wilford Brimley is like the bad guy from The Thing, or eventually the bad guy of The Thing.
Diabetes.
Well, that and diabetes. But man, like it takes forever for me to warm up to him.
No, I kind of felt the same way. Like, but I really liked the battle scenes in this. I thought the pacing on them was really good. Like, yeah. And again, like you could tell these had a budget because it looks good.
I actually want to say I'm not gonna say it's a bad thing. I want to say those blaster seats are recycled straight from the Falcon, though. The ones with they're fighting.
I want to say they are too.
Which that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that like, I noticed they were the battle seats from the.
Well, how'd you like Tarak and Noah's duel near the end of the movie with the stick and the sword.
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
I had to with his staff. I had to suspend some disbelief for that, but I mean, it was cool.
I mean, like, to be fair,
we're already dealing with a movie with fucking magic is in it, so I'm willing to suspend the disbelief a little further.
Well, to be fair, that actually, there is some actual logic there, because like with martial arts, you can use like weaker weapons to disarm other opponents. It's not completely that far-fetched. Plus, you could say things like, well, maybe the Marauders obviously don't keep their weapons in the best of shape. They clearly scrap and stuff. So you could probably say the blade's a little bit dull.
Well, in a universe where there's a metal that can withstand lightsabers,
I actually was going to bring up that like it was made out of vibro.
Swords. Yeah, vibro swords can withstand lightsabers.
Maybe it's a vibro staff. I did like the design of his staff with like the owl-like thing on the top of it.
I really like the designs of the Marauders, honestly.
Yeah, they
look very, very intimidating.
Yeah, they almost kind of remind me of like
the weak ways from the original trilogy is what they remind me of.
I was gonna say they kind of had like a vibe of like the Sand People.
Oh yeah, kind of. I can see that too.
Like what if
because like in case you didn't, the weak ways, the Jabba's guards, not the Gamorreans, the other ones.
You might have to describe them to me for a second. Because I remember stuff about Jabba's palace, but like he had so many different creatures in that. Like they kind of, the one I mostly remember is old Crumb. Oh, those guys. Okay.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of them, honestly. Like I want to say like there might be some stuff they recycled.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like and like I said, that's not a bad thing that they're recycling stuff, because like this was made for TV,
and it was made like a year after Return of the Jedi.
And then, they had the props lying around, so why the fuck not use them?
I mean, they reused those same props for the Rebel Alliance, Rebel Assault games in the early 90s,
really?
As well as the Dark Forces 2 live-action cutscenes. Those all use actual props.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, they actually reused, like, a lot of the props.
Well, I want to say, like, I feel like Mace, like, the outfit he had on was supposed to kind of be reminiscent of, like, the X-Wing pilot outfits.
Yeah, I definitely got those kind of vibes from that, too.
Because I kind of feel like what they were trying to do is make him look like a little bit like if Luke was, like, his age. Like, they kind of, like, giving, like, a feel of, like, especially because Cinderella's dressed in white. Like, there was almost supposed to be, like, they want you to, like, associate with them just to by making them look a little bit like Luke and Leia if they were little kids.
Yeah.
And that's not bad.
Now with the Kenobi show, we have actual baby Leia.
Yeah. But yeah, the battles were really fun. Although it was hilarious how he's brought down by Wicket just smashing that ring with a rock from his sling, and he just turns to stone.
As I always say, sometimes just luck.
Yeah, I was like, well, I was watching that. I was like, oh, that's a little anticlimactic there, but okay.
Yeah.
Then I will admit the effects of the end scene showing the ship flap, those are really good. Those are actually pretty good for TV. I also have to give them credit. They really tried to make sure that like Endor was like in the sky whenever you saw the sky as much as they possibly could.
Yeah.
To remind you that this is a moon. Which that'd be real talk. That'd be really weird. Like imagine like there's a planet, like you're living on a planet. And imagine if our moon was actually colonized, and like thinking about how like there's just people living up there.
I actually just thought about it too. As much as I don't like to think about the sequel trilogy, because Endor is actually in it.
Okay.
In Rise of Skywalker, they go to it because they go to a crashed Star Destroyer, and so Endor has an ocean, and the remnants of the Death Star have crashed into it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
that whole sequence. But like, that Endor almost doesn't look like this one. So like, I take the sequel trilogy's continuity with a lump of salt anymore, just because I'm at that point where I'm like,
yeah,
continuity is whatever the fuck I want it to be at this point for me. I don't really care.
You could argue maybe like just all that stuff from that battle has like ravaged that planet, like you were saying, but. I mean, to be fair, they probably just didn't give a shit. Because to be fair, we spend most of the time around Endor on its moon.
Yeah.
So like...
Well, no, this was actually on the moon of Endor.
Oh, that was on the moon of Endor.
I'm almost positive it was on the moon of Endor.
Okay, fair. Which I always love. It's always the moon of Endor. Like, we've never actually... barely been to Endor. It's just a planet that this moon happens to be on. Like, and the moon is way more important.
So, all right, so let's get to ratings. Out of 10... like usual. For Caravan of Courage, I am going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. I really, really enjoyed it a lot more than I remember enjoying it. I think it's a really solid film, and I think even if you're not the biggest fan of Ewoks, you can watch it and still get some real enjoyment out of it because it's a fun adventure movie.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. It was a really solid, fun film. It was a really fun adventure flick for me. Like, I like these kind of fantasy stories where it's just about, like, this caravan of travelers and their adventures to try and, like, do this thing. Actually, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a better version of Conan the Destroyer.
It really is, actually, now that I think about it. And then for Battle for Endor, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I really liked it still, and it definitely has its moments where I enjoyed it as much as Caravan. But like you said, like I feel like there's also parts of this movie that are like a little bit excess. They could have chopped some stuff up here and there.
Yeah.
Maybe had some stuff not drag on as long as it did.
Yeah.
And they definitely could have had the Marauders be more of an intimidating presence throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I could forgive the losing half the cast at the beginning. Because like I said, I did enjoy the film eventually. It just took me a little bit longer because I was like, oh man, I gotta deal with this new cast of assholes. But that aside, the pacing is like what really deters me from because like the first film is really nice and packed and it gets you where you need to be. This takes forever to get there, and a lot of it's just them fucking around in that hut. But although I did enjoy Teague. Although I'm wondering what race he is, that he has the ability to run like the Flash.
I can look it up.
We'll look at that up later. But it's still solid. If you like Caravan of Courage, I do recommend watching Battle for Endor.
Like
it's still a good movie.
Even if you're not the biggest fan of the Ewoks, I think like, and you want to watch these like just to give them a chance, I think you'll get some enjoyment out of them because I think there's a little bit of something here for everybody.
Yeah, like I said,
especially if you're like a big Star Wars fan of the original trilogy.
Yeah. And, if you've grown up with Star Wars, you could watch these with your kids. I think these are great for like a family thing.
Definitely.
Too. Like I said, it's such a shame how the Ewoks have kind of gotten this bad rap throughout the decades.
Because again, these were enjoyable movies to watch.
Like it's not like they were like ludicrously goofy or kiddie. Like I actually really enjoyed it, and it felt like it was the Star Wars universe that you've been accustomed to.
Yeah.
It's just this is a small little story on this moon. And I think it works really well.
Yeah.
But
I'm really happy you enjoyed them, honestly. Like that was one of my biggest things was I was like, oh man, am I really gonna be able to get them to watch these after watching the fucking holiday special?
Yeah, I was really these are actually a surprisingly good palate cleanser after watching the holiday special.
I'm really happy you enjoyed them because I was like, oh, good. Because if I had to defend these movies, I was gonna have to come strapped with my defense squad, basically.
No, even to be fair, even if I had watched these and not like them, I would have been like, these were harmless. Like it's not like they were like immensely offensive to me. It's not like all of a sudden I found out these are actually the Star Wars equivalent of like a Serbian film.
Jesus Christ.
Or Turkish Star Wars, which that is a thing. Look it up. But yeah, like I said, these are really good, and they're on Disney Plus. If you got a Disney Plus account, go ahead and watch them. How hard was it for you to get like the VHSs or the DVDs?
I still haven't gotten them in the mail yet. They mistakenly got shipped to a distribution center in Texas, so they got rerouted. They're in Pittsburgh right now, so I'll probably get them in the mail tomorrow. But they weren't hard to get. I paid $25 to get both on tape in a lot, and I think that was with free ship.
Yeah, and
so I mean, like they're not hard to come by. And again, like I looked on Amazon to see the DVD because I'll probably end up getting the DVD at some point. The DVD used is like $6, so obviously it's not super out of print.
Yeah,
I can't imagine they're still making them, but they're obviously not super out of print, nor are they like real super sought after.
Yeah, you might even be able to find these at like a Goodwill or Salvation Army or even just like
just
looking around like old like DVD stores, because I know there's a lot of old like
when we go up to Erie next week, hell, we might even find it at the Exchange.
Yeah, we found some shit at that place.
Yeah, so we might actually even be able to find the DVD of that there. I'll have to look, but thanks for joining us for Star Wars Month, guys. This was actually a lot of fun. Yeah, I think we had more fun with this than we did with X-Men Month.
Well, I mean,
and we actually managed to finish it somewhat on time.
Well, then it helped that we didn't need to rewatch like half these films. So, You know, it meant we got these done kind of fast. Like, I'm actually more impressed we got them done in the month.
Yeah. I also like that we haven't like done like hardly before this we had one Star Wars video.
Yeah.
And now like we hit like pretty much almost everything.
What was that Star Wars video? No.
We went and saw Empire Strikes Back in theater with Doug.
Yeah. And that wasn't even an actual Remember the Hyphen. That was a hyphenated review.
Yeah, but so I like that I would like to do more Star Wars stuff down the line, especially because like the 2D Clone Wars is on Disney Plus, the Ewok cartoons there, the Droids cartoons there. I'd like to do some more of these later down the line.
That'd be fun.
So, but as always, guys, I'm Average Joe Squad.
And I'm Zongetsu 134.
And as always,
we ask you,
remember the hyphen
and take care.